Chapter 41. The Queen Arrives. Point 1. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. I was still lost under the control of gluttony. It had fully taken over my body in order to gain sustenance. I was able to start slowly gaining mental focus after what seemed like an eternity of just vicious crunching and slurping of flesh and bones. Sus, vex.s.vxs, vexus. Can you hear me? Come back to us. Master, wake up, snap out of it. I hear you all, I would respond if I could, but my body is fully in control. I needed to regain control over my body, and thankfully I could start to see the system messages I got from eating the corpses, and with that I knew I could use my skills again. So I just did what I thought would remind my body who was in charge here. Oh God, why is his mouth glowing? It's glowing even while he's eating. Everybody, Master is going to use his light beam. Get behind cover. I forced my skill breath of light to disintegrate the corpses so my body would stop eating, while also shocking my body hopefully back into submission. I am in control. As the dust settles and the cave stops shaking, the group gets out from underneath a dual elemental shield that was used quickly by Sundar and Sylvania. What did he just do? I know what happened, but please don't think bad of him. It's only because his body used up all of the stored nutrients in order to regenerate. The group, even the other goblins, all looked at Shorent with inquisitive looks. Master Sin Gluttony has the ability to store anything he eats for later use. As either a means to get stronger, like gaining new abilities, or as you saw earlier, a means of emergency regeneration. Sin took over because it was devoid of sustenance. I only know this because of the connection we share by being his first pact. But even Master does not know that I can use this connection to see into him. I know what he is feeling, and with enough concentration I can get foggy images of what he is thinking about. That is the only reason I am telling you this, because Master has repeatedly thought about how he is trusting you all more and more. Master is the kind of person who went through a lot of hardships in this life, and the last he doesn't trust easily, but you all are changing his mind about letting others in. Shorent, who basically gave away my secret so nonchalantly, assured them that I wasn't a monster and that I was regaining control as they spoke. Meanwhile, I was in a crater at my beam made, and after finally getting my mind back on track with my body, I was able to stand up and slowly start to climb out. Hey, can I get a little help down here, please? I found out shortly that I was way too weak to climb, as my legs gave out under me and I was forced to sit at the bottom of a 8-foot hole. I was impressed at how powerful that attack was, and even more surprised that I wasn't bottomed out when it came to my MP. Thanks to my newly leveled up MP storage, it filled back up as soon as it was emptied. I just have to take some time and refill the storage again. Better safe than sorry. Master, the others are unfortunately a little afraid of you right now, and they think it would be best to keep you down in the hole until they come up with a plan. I tried to talk them out of it, but they wouldn't listen to what I have to say. Shorent told me that, but all I heard was that they are afraid of you. My heart sank a little. I didn't want my new friends afraid of me. I don't want them to not trust me. I even tried to save their lives from the explosion. Of course it's my fault that it happened. I should have known that it would happen and should have explained to Sundar not to infuse so much mana all at once. But thinking that led me to another thought. Hey, wait a minute, now I know this world works differently, but am I wrong in the thinking that the rock was actually creating its own mana system? Is that possible for that to happen? It is a very improbable thing to happen, but in this world many variables exist. In dungeons there are what is known as mana crystals, which can emit mana of their own, but this cave has shown no signs of them. One moment please. I was a bit confused about the whole mana crystal thing, but I just chalked it up to another thing I should learn when I could. Diagnosis of current location analyzed. Ambient mana has been identified in very small and negligible amounts in the surround rock. User is encouraged to examine and experiment with surrounding rock to identify. That's nice. Does that mean that we are in the center of a minefield? No, earlier accident was the result of infusion of large quantities into an otherwise low-quality mana-absorbing material. Okay, so with that cleared up somewhat, I start to look around. But all of it just looked like the same cave that was always around us. So bright idea time, and I used detection on the earth around me to see if anything stood out. Almost immediately my mind was attacked as all I could see was bright light all around me. It was like looking at the sun with nothing but infrared. Damn it, that hurts, motherfucker. Shorent, what's going on up there? Having fed up with waiting after being blinded by how everything around me is supposedly mana conductive. I needed to get out of this hole and talk with the others. Thankfully this time it wasn't Shorent who came to talk to me. Vexus, listen, what we just saw was a very shocking thing. Not only did you basically explode into a blood and blue flame fountain, we also saw you regenerate faster than any of us had heard about. Then you were not responding, only to wake up and devour multiple bodies like some savage beast. We need time to deal with that, don't you understand? I looked up at the voice to see Kitsoma with a look of poorly veiled fear. I was a bit mad at myself at making her feel this way towards me, but I didn't have time as the surrounding was slowly getting more charged just by us being in proximity. It was leaching out our power slowly but surely. Kitsoma, I understand, but I just discovered something that needs to be figured out right away. The place we are in right now is low-grade unrefined mana crystal. It is sapping our strength. We need to leave now, or else we could be weakened severely. The look of fear over me turned into a look of fear at the surroundings as she looked around almost in non-belief. She didn't say anything else and left to go talk to the others. I called over Shorent to speak to him in the meantime. Shorent, hey, so what are they doing? And what are the girls doing right now? Well, master, the other goblins are training with each other as we speak. Kana and Leosa are sparring and Tanoa and Vinoa are focusing on their magic. The others of our group are busy speaking about what you just told them. Great, okay, so have the sisters start focusing on learning mana manipulation. This is an important skill for our group, okay? And have the Kana and Leosa discovered any magical potential? Will do, master. And as for the second question, no, they have not. They did however try, but Kana got fed up and punched a wall so hard that her knuckles broke. Haha. I healed her, don't worry. I laughed a little at that just because I could see the now thick-headed Kana doing something like that. Okay, I want Kana to focus and try and imagine her body flexing so hard that it becomes hardened. I want Leosa to work on becoming as quiet as possible to the point that not even a god could find her. Your message will be passed along. Are you hungry? I'm fine, I can last for a bit longer, but if the others still don't decide anything, go ahead and subtly hint that I am feeling peckish, okay? I may trust them, but if they are going to treat me like this, then I'll just do what I want when I feel stronger, got it? Yes, master. He leaves immediately to do what I said as I close my eyes and concentrate on recovering my mana. I keep using detection to keep an eye on the stone around us, that way I can measure how much it is sapping from me as I draw in the magic. I found out that per 10 mana I regained, the stone around me took away 9. I was barely refilling my MP, but I was also starting to see a possibility. If the mana in the dungeon is able to be absorbed by the rock and then turned into crystal over time, what if I just went all out on my absorption for a little bit and sped up the natural refining process a bit? It was about an hour later. While this whole time I was using MP absorption, the rock around me was starting to faintly glow a deep, almost imperceptible shade of blue. My MP storage ability was able to level up again as it was in a constant state of being drained by the stones and being refilled. Shockingly, as the stones' purity got better, the amount they drained from me got worse. I was now having to absorb up to 20 MP per minute just to keep up with the drain from these stones. I took a break from doing that to rest my mind. It may not have taken any MP or stamina to do this, but the mental focus required to do that for little over an hour was very taxing. About that time was when I started to feel a shaking before steps were made into the ground next to me leading up and out of the hole. I was still physically a bit weak, but I went ahead and walked up. I was greeted by the goblins first before the group stood in front of me. Vexus, we came to a decision. Sundar spoke up as he stood as the centerpiece to the others. I was a bit apprehensive just from the looks of fear that still lingered in their eyes, but their body language was misleading. Sundar and Howie stood like a wall in front of me while Sylvania and Kitsoma were more open and not as threatening. And what is it, Sundar? Are you guys going to cast me aside like a piece of trash, even after I saved you all from the mistake that you made? I decided I wasn't going to be nice about it if they decided that I was a threat. Yeah, I may have some issues, but after everything I did for these bastards, I wasn't going to be used up and tossed away. Vexus, you behaved like a savage beast earlier. How can you blame us for being this way towards you? You scared us. Yeah, we are indebted to you, but what happens when this happens again and there is no food nearby for you to consume, huh? We don't know if you're going to attack and try and eat us just because your gluttony needs to be fed. I personally can't risk that without insurance. OMG, you fking retard. I was in a coma from having the whole center of my body blown up from the inside because you were so gung-ho about trying to learn a new skill after I hurt your feelings. For one, get over it. I want to be stronger. I need companions who are strong and will continue to grow. You got upset about me not wanting to use you like a shitty tool factory anymore. I wanted you to conserve your strength for fights or for expanding your power, not to make fking shovels or be the main labor force of our group. Another thing is that when there wasn't food, did my body attack you? Or the others? Or did my body only act out when a source of food became available? That's right, it only ate the corpses because I felt a trust between us and my body even subconsciously knew not to attack my friends. But if this is how you're going to treat me after saving your worthless lives, then screw you all, I'm gone. Also, by the way, the whole area around us is still in the process of sapping our strength. I refined it a bit to strengthen how much it would drain. Have fun. I proceeded to have the goblins follow me as I left the mana cave. I entered into the entrance cave leading to the ant colony but was stopped shortly after by the leftovers. Hey, wait, Vexus. We didn't mean it like that, man. Kami, and don't just throw us away like that. We're sorry, okay, please stay. Howie was the first to reach me and started pleading for me to stay with them. The others shortly arrived behind him and did the same thing. Kitsoma and Sylvania apologized for not standing up for me. They were just as shocked by the recent events and were stuck deep in thought. It wasn't until Sundar came up to me that I really started oozing out anger towards them. Look, I made a mistake, man. I messed up with the rock and I was just mentally messed up afterwards, and when we came back to see you dive bomb into the corpses and start slinging around intestines and shit, I just lost it for a minute. I swear I wasn't going to ask that you leave. I just wanted to make sure where we stood with you. I still want to be your companion. I just got scared because of how powerful you are, man. He spoke all this while looking down. He looked at me a couple times, but I still couldn't bring myself to calm down. Okay, then riddle me this. Why was I left in a fking hole for over an hour while you guys talked about what to do? That was just the best way I could think of. You weren't in danger or anything, and it gave us some comfort. You have to see it from our side, Vex. You showed us just how vicious you can be when you have no food and your sin takes over. We just needed that space to get some clarity. That's why after we decided we were still wanting to travel with you that we let you out. We were going to discuss it calmly, but idiot Sundar spoke up first. Kitsoma hurried up and stepped in front of Sundar to say that just to make sure that he didn't make another mistake. I was starting to calm down now, but some anger was still left over. So I told them that they were in charge of making this entrance defensible again while me and the goblins went to look for food in the colony. I didn't care if the goblins came back and that they were strong enough to handle a few goblins without me. They all nodded without much input. Only a couple okays were spoken as I left with my minions. It was time to hunt, and boy did I need it. My anger was starting to overflow again just thinking about the shit that went down, all because of an idiot. Unknowingly a red aura started to ooze out of my body, but just faintly. Master, are you okay? Shorent looked over at me with an odd look. No, why? I asked without realizing that I was subconsciously leaking mana out of my body that combined with my current feelings. I was too mentally overwhelmed to realize what was happening. Well, you're starting to leak out mana. You need to keep that in check, Master. You don't want to alert the enemy of our presence. After having it pointed out to me, I come up with a great plan to satisfy my thirst for blood. You see, Shorent. Right now you should be preparing for a fight. Why? Do you sense enemies approaching? He and the others got into a battle position quickly and looking all around. No, but they will be. I say before unleashing all of my mana and anger, creating an overflowing aura of emotion that caused a loud and ear-piercing squeal to come from deep in the tunnels. Get ready that I just summoned the Queen. Breath of Light, 0. 1. Detection, 55%. 60%. Chapter 42. The Queen arrives. Point 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I was too focused on preparing for the upcoming fight to hear what the others were saying. But after a few minutes of hearing their voices, I simply turned my head and smiled. If you're afraid, then go back to the others. I just want to get this over with and capture myself a queen. I listened to those bastards last time and didn't take the queen egg, but this time I have nobody persuading me otherwise. But since I do not want you all to die, go ahead and go back to the others and warn them and help them defend while I have fun. Master, why are you doing this? Is it because you're angry? Sacrificing yourself is not the way to go about this, please. Shorent begged for me to come back with them. But I was ready to fight and I wanted to destroy to release this anger that was building up. I needed this so that I can go back to the group and be somewhat level-headed. Shorent, I need this, please just do what I ask and go help the others. I will be back after taking out a few of the ants and pushing them back. I feel bad for attracting their attention just now. It was a spur-of-the-moment action, but now I have to deal with the reaction. I walked further down the tunnel away from them to further prove that I was resolute. I ended up having to order Kana to drag Shorent away with them to keep that stubborn bastard from staying and dying because of my stupid decision. After they were gone, I used mana hands to pick up a few of the nearby unrefined mana crystals that I detected while trying to get Shorent to leave. I could feel a tremor getting stronger and that told me they were close, so I took the crystal and did what Sundar did. Well, I tried to, but I found out that to get to the level of overloading it I had to infuse a shit ton of mana all at once, and at most if I use up my storage as well as what I have naturally, then I could only create one and it wouldn't even explode. But what I found out was that it did drastically increase the MP drain of the crystal. So I figured that I could save this until the queen shows up and then get her to swallow this somehow. In my head I thought that if she swallowed the mana crystal it would start to rapidly drain her mana, considering she had any in the first place. I threw the crystal a little bit down the tunnel towards the ants and waited for them to arrive. Which they did not disappoint, as a few seconds later I see a horde of worker ants and warrior ants all in a mad rush towards me. I smile at the thought of how bloody it's going to get, and at how many meals I'll get out of this. I shoot out a few spatial bullets just as a warm-up. I was able to hit a couple of the worker ants, ending with an almost instant death as their large bodies get sucked into a hole half the size of their heads. The others quickly react and go around the now dwindling spheres that after hitting a target stayed at the location of impact. I could see some of the weaker worker ants get sucked in, but with the help from the surrounding ants they were pulled back out of range. So I shot out a few more just to try and lower the incoming numbers as much as possible before I switched to close combat. This time something strange happened. A few of the spatial spheres had started moving closer together and starting amplifying the others' gravitational pull. I was a bit shocked but still happy as I seen that they lasted longer this way and could suck in more of the ants before winking out. The gruesome part was that the smaller the sphere the unluckier the ant was that got caught by it. There was a lot more agony-filled noises coming from the ants than I had anticipated. It made me feel a bit bad about doing this to them. But I quickly shook free of that thought as a warrior surprised me from the side and almost tore a chunk out of my leg. If it wasn't for my pain tolerance being maxed out I would have been crippled by the pain. But instead I got angry and jumped towards the warrior ants. I dodged the attempts to capture me with its huge and without a doubt earth-shattering mandibles, then landed on its back where I slashed a few times with my lightning strike to reveal the gooiness inside. I was a bit squeamish just because it wasn't cooked but still juicy and squirming, but I rammed my leg through it and activated life steal. It screamed in agony as the life essence was drained from it and was in turn used to regenerate my crippled leg in a few seconds. I also received a nice bonus of +1 to my STR on top of a full heal. By the time I got through draining the warrior, the other ants were already almost on top of me, so I had to quickly switch on my electric scales of vitality, and I went ahead and used lightning muscles Oswell to make sure I had enough speed to not only hit but also to dodge any attacks that get a little too close for comfort. I jumped from ant to ant, aiming for the weaker worker ants first and severing off their heads with a couple lightning slashes each. I noticed that it was a tiny bit easier to penetrate their hard shells after gaining that +1. It was going smoothly until I heard a loud screech and looked back to see a huge ant almost too big for the tunnel to hold that was surrounded by 6 warrior-type ants that were bigger and had a more menacing aura as well as an almost metallic-like sheen to their shells. "Ha, you finally showed your ugly face, my future pet. I have some plans for you," I say quickly as I dodge yet another side swipe from a warrior trying to catch me off guard, but thanks to my heightened senses their attacks seemed a bit sluggish. But I knew the time for my lightning muscle buff was going to shortly run out. I had to make this quick or else I had to fall back and rely on the others until I can recuperate. The thought of going back to them right now, especially in a weakened state, felt like a disgrace to me. So I sucked it up and I shot a volley of spatial bullets towards the queen, hoping to take out at least a couple of her royal guards. Luck was not on my side, as the second the bullets filled with spatial energy got close to the guards, the lower warrior ants dived in front and sacrificed themselves to protect not only their queen but also the royal guards. I was a bit ticked off at that, so I used up a good chunk of my mana to throw out an enlarged spatial bullet. I charged up for a few seconds, and with each passing second I could feel like the weight of the surrounding air itself multiplied as my mana started to gather, and when it fully formed I got a notification as I shot it towards the incoming ants. User has met the conditions to acquire skill. Spatial bomb, warning. User is within detonation range, please seek shelter immediately. As soon as I read that, my eyes opened wide and I used up what little energy I had to top up my lightning buff and ran towards the others. I burst into the resting area and quickly warned the others. "We have to go now, we have to leave this area now. I just shot off a bomb and it has the capacity to do a lot more damage than I then." I quickly get the others up and we all run out towards the goblin cave area. We all feel a huge quake that lasts for a short while, but a couple seconds after the quake died down was a loud boom, and the entire cave shook like the earth itself was splitting apart. Then the cave behind us started to light up slowly, but soon we all could hear a loud roar and saw a giant torrent of blue flames coming down the tunnel after us. There was a collective OHSHIT from the group as we all used whatever skills we had to run faster. I forced out a few mana hands that grabbed the cave walls and brought them down to try and give us some leeway from the incoming flames of doom. Only to see the same walls get melted by the intense heat seconds later. The flames were quickly closing in on us until Howie pointed towards another opening ahead of us. We all quickly ran towards it and jumped through, after which Sundar made a thick stone wall to help shield us from the flames. We were lucky that it soon died down, but not after causing severe burns on Sundar, who stayed with the wall and pumped his mana into it to make sure it gave as much protection as to us as possible. I tried to help as much as I could by sharing what little MP I had with him, but it wasn't able to keep up with the huge output that he was using against the fire. When it died down, the rest rushed over to the and I had Shorent start casting his healing spells over Sundar as he screamed in pain now that the adrenaline wore off. His normally hard shell seemed melted and his fur was burnt off, leaving behind red blistered and crackled skin. Between each scream was a hacking cough that blew out plumes of smoke and the smell of cooked meat. "Viva Vexu," he said, looking towards me. I leaned closer to him with worry in my eyes. "Yeah man, I'm here, what's up?" "Vex, cough, hack, cough, Vexus. I think this might be it for me. Cough, cough, cough." "No man, listen, you just hang in there, Shorent is the best guy to fix you up and you'll be good as new soon enough." He looked at me with a smile, but his eyes were filled with acceptance. He knew he was going to die, but he pushed through to talk to me one last time. Vexus listened that I'm sorry. His eyes started to gloss over as his final breath left his body. The others started to tear up as I just continued to watch my friend lay there dead from something I did. My vision started to get blurry as tears started to fall from my face landing on his body, but because of how hot the temperature was that he endured, the tears almost instantly became steam. After a few seconds my mind was filled with regret, but a small part was filled with anger. Not at this man who decided to become my friend, not even knowing who I really was, but instead because I chose to help other people. This man who I hurt multiple times the last day with my words and actions. That anger built up until it turned into rage, and I screamed at the world at the thought of it taking my companion, my friend, my brother. System use all remaining stored nutrients and cast life burn and life share. User has requested use of sealed skill. Life burn. Granted, user will now consume all remaining stored nutrients to supplement the skill. Life share. User has targeted the being known as Sundar. Now creating life link, connected, will now commence life share. I screamed at the top of my lungs until they burst as my body was overwhelmed with a green and purple aura that ran rampant like a mad beast. Vexus, what are you doing? Stop. The others all shouted out to me to stop what I was doing, but how could I when I needed to return his favor? I needed to bring him back to repay him. He did so much for me and this group, and I took advantage of him, not once thinking of how he felt but instead of what use he gave me. Out of my own selfishness I gave him a new goal that turned into a bomb. Then because of how angry I was about how I scared them, I went and created a bomb myself that ended up killing him because this man was still willing to sacrifice even further for us. I felt like my body was cracking apart as my life force was being used in an attempt to bring him back. I could feel my muscles withering and my scales falling off. I felt weakened to the point my legs gave out and I was forced to kneel on the ground, but I kept the skill active and forced even more of my power into Sundar to bring back my friend. User has successfully reignited target's life flame. User has consumed 50 years of life. Those were the last messages I saw as I looked down at Sundar as he slowly blinked as his body started to visibly regenerate. His body sloughed off the old burnt skin like a snake, and he started tearing up when he looked at me. Vexus, you fool. Why? Because I owed you for being so awesome. I said as I smiled right before everything went black. Spatial bullet, 2. 8, lightning slash, 1. 3, life steal, 3. 4, strength, 3. 4, electric scales of vitality, 7. 8, lightning muscles, 4. 5, spatial bomb, LVL00/10. By gathering enough spatial mana the user can shoot out a bomb that after impact with target will cause an implosion that which after a short delay will then explode. MP share, 10. 11 sealed skill, life burn, 0. 1, life share, 0. 1. Chapter 43. The Sworn Brother. You are listening at novelfull.audio, Party POV. Vexus. Master. They all shouted and quickly ran over to Vexus' comatose body. They were unable to do anything while they watched as he visibly used up his own life force to bring back their companion. Kitsoma and Sylvania were still crying, but now they shed tears over how worried and scared they are at how much Vexus sacrificed. Vexus, please wake up, please, don't leave us, we need you. Kitsoma said as she started to cradle his head with her hands gently as his whole body had the look of a dried husk. His scales had fallen off, leaving behind what looked like a thin half-dead lizard. The goblins all were worried about their master, but Shorent knew his master would be okay. Even if he had sacrificed his own life span to help his friend, Shorent decided to instead make sure that Sundar was okay. Sundar, are you okay? Master did something tremendous as his apology to you. Sundar sat up and rubbed his eyes as a look of disbelief was plastered on his face. I can't believe he did that for me. I don't deserve this. I treated him like shit the last few hours. He said as he looked down in shame, but Shorent got mad and whacked him with his staff. Whack, Master did this because he felt horrible about the way he treated you. He thinks of you as his brother. Let me tell you that when it comes to Vexus, that is an incredible honor. He let you all in, so do not ever feel like you're unworthy of what he does for you. If he felt like you were not worth his time, he would have chosen others to lead, or he would have left to be on his own. By this time Shorent's emotions were overwhelming him by this point, and as he spoke his voice cracked and tears start to fall from his eyes as his body gives up. If it weren't for the fact that he had his staff in hand, he would have fallen into a mound of weeping flesh on the ground. Sylvania went and picked him up and helped him stand up straight. Shorent, we need you, Vexus needs you, he trusts you the most, and right now your power is what can help him, she said with a sad look in her eyes. With a snotty sniffle he wipes his face off and shakes his head, trying to clear out the overflowing sadness in order to focus on healing. Thank you, Miss Sylvania, I needed that to get my mind right. He then steps over to look at his master's decrepit body, and as one final tear falls his staff lights up with a brilliant emerald green. Okay, my master will need plenty of nutrients when he wakes up. Howie, Sande, Kana, Leosa, I need you guys to go and pick up all of the ant meat that you can and bring it here as quickly as you can. I don't know how long it will take to wake him up, but when he does it won't be him in control. It'll be gluttony and it will be starving. The four chosen hurry up and run off to the place where the ants fought Vexus, and after a few minutes came back with 4 bodies of larger than normal warrior ants. They also found a mass amount of magic crystals and even a few dropped items that they didn't expect, like a short spear with an emblem of ant on it, and the spear tip was a sharp mandible. Or a helmet that oozed a commanding aura. But they figured the meat was more important right now and decided to come back for the rest after dropping the load off. Back at the camp, Shorent was sending wave after wave of healing energy into his master's body, all while muttering, "Please, master, come back to us, please, what are we to do without you, master?" The sisters were right next to him, providing him with mana as they had just broken through and learned MP share to further be of use to the party. Thank you, sisters, you have proven your worth to not only me but also to everyone here. I am sure master would be ecstatic. Shorent said, knowing that without prior knowledge of the skill, how hard it would have been to learn it in such a short period of time. But their love for their master pushed them to do the extraordinary. Vexus POV. I was in an endless sea of stars and my body was just floating in space. My mind was peaceful as I accepted the sacrifice I made for my friend. I knew the cost would be great, but that man is amazing and deserves a better friend out of me. When I wake up I will do my best to help him, or at the very least try to not be such a dick to him all the time. Yes, I watched what happened, and even though that man had some faults, he stepped up and did the unthinkable to ensure your survival. My descendant. I heard the all-familiar voice of gluttony all around me as I see a small form start to get closer. Upon inspection I notice it had a more feminine outline than the last few times I saw it. It was still a green gaseous-looking cloud, but it was now concentrated, I guess. Vexus, I have to say I am proud of what you did. Although I am a bit disappointed by how many years you sacrificed, I am still proud that you saved your friend. You even made a life connection with him that will stay between you as long as you both live. Given the right circumstances, that link can even span generations, but that's not the point of me summoning you here. Gluttony sighed and came up to me before putting a hand on my shoulder and looking into my eyes with a seriousness that I found disconcerting. Vexus, my dear, I am afraid that the other sins are moving against me soon. I say soon, but in your time it would be about 1 year. They have multiple descendants who are in all varying states of power. It has been announced that the 7 sins of this world will hold a battle of supremacy after that 1 year. The other sins unfortunately have the power and reserves for multiple blessings they can bestow on mortals, but for me I only had enough to grant one person a shard of my power. That person was you, Vexus. What she said was mind-blowing. Not only are the sins now going to fight, but it would seem that they are actually aiming at gluttony. I wanted to find out why, but I refrained from asking just because right now I didn't have the strength to really change anything. I was shaken from my thoughts as she continued speaking. Hey, come back to me now, I can see the cogs turning in your head, but you gotta listen to me now. I need you to finish those missions I sent you. They will give me residual power I can absorb and gain back some of my power. Hopefully enough so that I can grant another blessing onto another mortal to help you in the war to come. But it all depends on you now, Vexus. Go and do what I ask, please. There are no more threats from me. My life is in your hands as my only descendant. Her form then starts to slowly dissipate as my consciousness starts to awaken. Master, Master. Are you awake? Please wake up, Master. I heard cries and sniffles from all around me as my eyes start to slowly open up after I use up what little energy I had left to force them open. With a croaky voice I mutter incoherent words that forced the others to get closer. Food, and water. Please, oh thank the gods, he's back. Quickly let's get him back up and start shoveling food and water down his throat. Kitsoma said with a sigh, and soon was helping me to drink from a stone bowl and even fed me small pieces of what tasted like boiled ant meat. Thank you. Kitsoma, I was able to speak a little more clearly after coughing and clearing my throat. Shut up, you idiot, and just focus on getting better, she said while looking away with a slight reddening of her face. I smiled as my chest felt a slight fluttering. The others watched with a smile as they saw the cute interaction between me and her. Shorent finally walked over and knelt down on a knee. Master, I apologize for not helping when you needed me the most, he said with a conviction only heard from the most loyalist of underlings. Shorent, cough, cough. Shorent, listen. I did that by my own accord. I needed to save Sandar's life not because I owed him but because he deserved to keep living. I caused his death, so it was only right that I brought him back. 50 years are a worthy sacrifice to bring back a friend. 50 years. A collective yell came from the group before Kitsoma slapped me. You imbecile, you sacrificed 50 years of your life. That is insane. How could you do that without blinking like you did? I mean, you did that without even a hint of hesitation. Sundar ran up to me and knelt down like Shorent. Vexus, please tell me you didn't sacrifice that many years just for me. I am not worth that much off your life. Please tell me you're lying. Nope, I'm not. I really sacrificed 50 years of my life to bring you back, buddy. And I would have sacrificed more if you were going to be stubborn and stayed dead. I need you, man, you are my brother. I did it because I trusted you and I failed you as a friend. I hope you can forgive me, Sundar. He looked up at me with misty eyes and a sniffle. Man, you are so dumb. But yes, I feel that way too, dude. I swear here and now that from this day until the day I die, I will stand by your side as your brother and I will protect you with all my power. Companion Sundar has accepted generated life, link with user, Companion Sundar now classified as Sworn Brother, generating sub-system, complete, connecting sub-system to Sworn Brother, complete, will now commence sub-system interface link. A bright green light enveloped Sundar as a line of energy connected between us. He yelled in pain for a minute but stopped as the light faded away. He was in a prone fetal position and shaking as a sigil seared onto the area just above his ear. The sigil was an exact replica of what I had. He also had a gray dragon tattoo above his heart that appeared. Sub-system link complete. Generating, Sworn Brother. Sundar, status page, Sundar, species. Armadillo Demi. Human class. Sworn Brother, Guardian, stats, STR13 Vit 25 SPD 5 Dex 4 Con 20 Int 9 HP.1, 500 MP 90, Skills, Earth Manipulation, LVL00/10. User can manipulate the earth around it. Earth Wall, LVL00/10. User can create solid walls from surrounding earth. Wall strength depends on skill level. Earth Creation, LVL00/10. User can create varying objects using the surrounding Earth. Creation of varying objects may fail if not at sufficient skill level. Pack mentality, 20%. The user will connect with others they trust to form a strong bond that increases teamwork as well as small buff to stats dependent on skill level. Pain tolerance, 20%. Able to withstand physical pain easier. Sworn brother, LVL not applicable. User will receive buffs as long as in the vicinity of sworn brother, sister. Life, link, LVL not applicable. User has been brought back to life through the sacrifice of another, will forever be connected through said link until death. Will upgrade once certain conditions have been met. Hardened body, LVL00/10. Skill granted by Demi-Human Armadillo Bloodline, user can harden their body to withstand up to 2 attacks. Warning. Will not protect against attacks from enemies with a large gap of power over user. Brought back from the dead, LVL not applicable. User has been brought back from the dead, will constantly be cursed by the Lord of the Underworld for escaping his grasp, gains the ability to see and converse with the dead. Can unlock future off-shoot abilities. A huge pop-up list of his stats and abilities appeared before my eyes. I looked over it but was shortly stunned with a small burst of fear after reading that the Lord of the Underworld was cursing him for escaping his grasp. Does that mean he will be gunning for Sandar's life? And by extension mine? That was shortly answered by another pop-up that was different from the normal system window. It was all black with red letters. I am watching you now, you will pay for taking my possession from me. Receive my curse and suffer. Then a normal pop-up window shortly appeared blocking it out. User has been inflicted with the curse. Curse of the marked, user will now be hunted down by any and all undead. Can be removed with high-level holy magic. Oh shit, this is just great. How did this come about? All I wanted was to save my friend. I thought as Sundar groaned and stood up while wobbling. UGH, what the hell was that? I smiled as I walked up to him. Welcome to my world, settle in and buckle up because there's a lot we gotta talk about. Vexus new gains. Sworn brother, LVL not applicable. User will receive buffs as long as in the vicinity of sworn brother, sister. Life, link, LVL not applicable. User has sacrificed many years of their own lifespan to bring back someone from the dead, will receive buffs to stats the closer you are to subject, along with the ability to sap life force and mana as payment. Will upgrade once certain conditions have been met. Rescuer of the dead, LVL not applicable. User has rescued friend from death, gains ability related to the rescued soul. Warning. Lord of the Underworld is now watching you. Cursed of the marked, LVL not applicable. The Lord of the Underworld has cursed you to be a beacon towards the undead. Will be hounded by any and all undead. Chapter 44. System, Loot, N.A. Hallmark moment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I sat Sundar down and explained to him that my ability as a sin holder also came with a system, a window-like pop-up that showed our stats boiled down to a number. I also told him that it granted me a way to grow stronger and acquire more skills than the average person of this world. He was amazed by the end of it as I was able to show him my system window and give him a demonstration. I tried to show the others that were listening in but they were unable to see it. I assumed it was only showing for me and Sundar, so I just resumed the explanation. Wait, does this mean I can get stronger as well now? Sundar said as he was inspecting his own status window. I see my skills here. I knew about the skills I had, like being able to use earth magic and things like that, but if I use it now it feels like it lost its power somehow. He said as he tried to generate a earth wall like he did to block the fire but was only able to make one that came up to his shin. Yeah, about that. It seems that after you gain my ability it reset your skills down to LVL 0, but this means that it has the potential to be way stronger if you train in those skills again. Oh. Well, that seems like a good trade-off, and the extra buffs I got from being near you is a great bonus as well. I feel like I could lift a mountain. Yes, same here. Even if you're stronger than me, it would seem that we both gained a pretty good buff to our stats. I can feel my mana pool is huge right now, so for now we just need to focus on staying near each other in a fight and we should be alright. As we discussed the new things that he gained, I also discovered that he didn't receive the gluttony sin, but instead it was more like he shared in my sin. He would feel a stronger need for sustenance, but it wasn't as power as when I would get hungry. I also noticed he didn't gain my hidden skills like my abyssal stomach, or my consumption. That means that more than likely he cannot use devour and assimilate to gain more skills. After noticing this and telling him, he seemed a little saddened, but he perked up before saying how he is totally fine without having to go on a devouring spree whenever he gets hungry. He said he was fine with the skills he had and that any new ones he gains would just be a bonus. I nodded and agreed. Then I was told about the drops that they found, such as the crystals and the loot. I was happy that this happened because I had been wondering if this world had such benefits of their dungeons, but up until now had not gotten anything from the ants or the goblins we had killed. It seems that after a certain level of strength maybe they drop items, or another option is that those are the items of past adventurers that died here and somehow those items survived the digestion process. Either way, I was totally fine with using the loot drops to give my party a much needed boost. I had them take me there after I was well enough to walk and was soon led to a huge area that was the site of where the bomb went off. The walls were still crumbling around us and black scorch marks covered the walls. There were even outlines of some of the weaker ants that were flash incinerated in the initial blast. I walked over to look at the drops and was happy to see that after searching around there was actually a few more drops. There was the spear, the helmet, a book with the symbol of an ant on it, a shield made from the shells of a royal guard, and also a chest plate made from the same material. Obviously I knew who would receive what, but I wanted to try and get a look at the specs before making the decision. System, is there a way to inspect these items and see what the item's stats are? Yes, the skill. Analyze will give accurate details on subject with insight. Okay, can you give me the skill or do I have to learn it myself? System not authorized to generate skills. Figures, okay, well, can I at least get a hint on how to get it? System not authorized, bullshit you are, but fine, whatever, thanks for at least telling me a way exists. After having another fruitful conversation with my system, I tried to determine how to gain the skill. I first thought just like any other eye/sight related ability it would all depend on the eyes. So I focused a bit of mana into my eyes and stared at the items. The only thing that happened was that my eyesight increased by a small margin and my MP depleted. Hey, so I know this is a weird question everyone, but do any of you have the skill analyze? Or maybe a way to determine how strong an item is? I asked while looking at the others. They all said no, but they had heard of such a skill existing, so I knew it was possible to gain. Okay, thanks anyways. I'll try something and hopefully get it soon. But in the meantime, let's gather all this loot up and head back to base. I don't see any signs of the Ant Queen and I am getting a bit worried about that. Oh, now that you mention it, that is a bit odd. I wonder if she survived your attack, Master. That would be quite a feat considering how powerful the aftermath was. Shorin said as he took a quick look around at the various leftover burnt and disintegrating shells. I think a small scouting party would benefit us, but Digger, my man, you need to take a break. You work like a horse keeping track of all the potential threats and leading us towards a new area. I think you can rest for a few, hell if you want after today just keep your scouting to a nearby area. We are relying on you, I said to Digger, who had indeed been working his ass off, not so much as an attacker, but his ability as our scout and watchman was unparalleled. Thanks man, I am running on fumes here, he said, and whenever we got back to base he laid down next to a makeshift fire pit and passed out. Now let's try this again. I am going to focus mana into my eyes but also try and send out a thread of mana to connect with the items, maybe that way it will register as me trying to look at the stats. I said out loud, not to anybody in particular but instead mostly to myself to help think the process through. After a while my MP was down by about 20 points until I see the air in front of the helmet start to shimmer, and after a few seconds a pop-up window appeared as a ding went off in my head. Already knowing what the ding was about, I ignored it as I looked more at the pop-up. Royal Guard helmet, plus 10 to defense, attack, plus 20 to defense when guarding royalty, skill. Lesser command when worn by someone of high status, lesser command. Provides buff that help anybody under the service of wielder. Provides attack, defense, speed, and better coordination within unit. Oh wow guys, it worked. It says here that it's a Royal Guard helmet. It even gives a bonus to attack and defense apparently with a focus on defending, but it says the extra bonus is when the wearer is guarding royalty. It also gives a skill called Lesser Command that helps with coordinating units, I guess. I was pleasantly surprised that one. My idea worked, and 2. The helmet was actually not a bad piece of equipment. I decided to give Sundar this as we had planned on him being my official bodyguard. It seemed to fit him pretty well, actually almost like it was made for him. That sent a warning bell off in my head, but I ignored it for the time being as my plate was already full at the moment without worrying about possible threats outside of my scope. I then looked at the other items, and each time it seemed that the amount of MP taken was the same no matter how high quality the loot was, which made me happy as I was expecting to empty out my MP pool when we found a OP loot drop. I looked next at the spear with a sharp mandible as a tip that was designed to not only pierce but also tear on exit. It was a brutal weapon but needed. Warrior Spear, plus 5 attack, piercing effect, 0.5 to opponent defense upon weapon exit, causes bleeding upon weapon exit. Well, no shit Sherlock, of course a weapon meant for causing insane damage when you rip it out of someone would cause bleeding damage. This is a spear meant for causing insane damage that is mostly focused on dealing increased damage when you rip it out of someone. It causes bleeding damage and it also appears to lower the enemy's defense. There were a few of the close-range fighters who oohed at this description. It seems that the clear choice would have to instead be a pick between these 3. It was Howie, surprisingly, Kana, and even Sundar who showed interest. Maybe a battle royale could decide the winner. It would be good source of entertainment to the others as well as a short training session for the fighters. Okay, so let's continue and we can figure out who gets what afterwards, so keep your greedy hands to yourselves, haha. I couldn't help but laugh as I saw their faces droop in disappointment. Next was the book, Ant Pheromone, grants the skill. Ant Pheromone. User is able to generate the pheromones excreted from ants. Either to alert others of dangers or to create a path leading to sources of food. This looks like a skill book for someone to learn how to excrete ant pheromones. The others looked at the book like it was a huge letdown. While I could see how it was a good thing, especially considering how I still wanted an ant queen for a pet. Well, it looks like this one is mine then, I guess. I said before looking at the shield and the armor. Royal Shield, plus 10 to defense, attack, plus 10 to defense when guarding royalty, grants the skill. Royal Guard. User will generate an impenetrable shield around itself and the royalty it protects. Will guard against an and all attacks in exchange for the user being rooted in place. Next up the armor, but I had a feeling about what it was gonna be already. Royal Chestplate, plus 10 to defense, attack, plus 10 to defense when guarding royalty, grants the skill. Undying Loyalty. Will gain buffs when guarding royalty equal to half of said royalty's stats. Will induce rage when royalty is injured. Well, I knew this was coming. It seems to be a equipment set, but what is up with that last skill? That seems a bit OP, of course considering who the said royalty is. Okay, so the helmet, shield, and chestplate are all a equipment set. It's not telling me if it is the full set right here or if there are more pieces needed, but all 3 grants a different skill. I know you guys might not like this idea, but I say let's give them to Sundar. As my bodyguard he would stand to gain the most from this set. The book is mine since nobody else wants it, but as for the spear, I was thinking that you 3 who showed interest could have a trial by combat and the winner would get the spear. How does that sound? Or we could just all vote on who should get it and do it that way. After a couple of minutes the rest of the group agreed with my idea of trial by combat. I knew they would because I noticed that they were starting to get a little disheartened being down here in the dungeon. At first they seemed excited for what possibilities and adventures would unfold, but it quickly diminished as the dungeon proved to be more difficult than imagined. I was partially to blame of course, and I vowed to make up for it to them. But right now I still needed to focus on getting stronger, that way I could protect the ones I care about as well as making sure that the Shadow Eaters do not destroy the world. Hey, I can tell you stuck in your head, so here have a bowl of my delicious boiled ant stew mixed with leftover goblin. I was brought back to reality by Kitsoma handing me a stone bowl filled with boiled meat and another meat that looked like a greenish blob. I laughed at her attempt to cheer me up and ate while she sat down next to me. After a little bit she spoke up while looking down at the floor. I know you feel really guilty about what happened, and I admire you for what you did to bring back Sundar. But you shouldn't blame yourself too much. He did what he did because he is that kind of person. You and him developed a bond very quickly down here and he did what he thought was best. I know this won't help, but we all think you're amazing, and even though we messed up we still want to be around you and keep having adventures after this. She was starting to blush a bit as she continued speaking, but I couldn't help but stare at her. Look, what I'm saying is that I want to keep adventuring with you after we escape from here. I know the future looks bleak right now, but I believe that being with you could really be a great thing for me, so please say you'll keep me around, please. I could only shake my head at her and chuckle. Haha Kitsoma, I am on a road of empowerment. This road may take me to dangerous places, some of which I don't know if I could guarantee your safety. Even knowing that, do you still want to come along with me? I placed one of feet on her hands as a sign of comfort and stared into her eyes to make sure she knew how serious I was. I was surprised to see a firm conviction reflecting back from hers. I knew then and there that she was serious. Fine, you can stay with me even after this. I shook my head with a smile on my face. But seconds later I was bombarded by two girls' bodies slamming me to the ground. Well, what about US Master? Can we stay with you to please see? It was the sisters. Even Tanoa, who normally acted like a mature older sister to Vinoa, was even starting to tear up at this point. I couldn't help but feel pity and even pain as they thought that I would abandon them. Ah, how could I leave you two behind? Our time together may have been short, but I feel like you two are my daughters. You may be from a different species, but through our connection we became a family. I could never leave you nor the other goblins behind. They cried even harder after that, to which point the other goblins came and kneeled to me. Master, we could never repay your kindness. We as your family will always be there for you. Shorent said through tears. Big baby, Master, Leosa and I will also make sure to become the best as your sword and shadow, ain't that right Leosa? Kana said while slapping Leosa on the back with a huge smile. Yes, like this huge oaf said, we will strive to fulfill your goals, Master. I couldn't help but take a look at those around me in that moment. From Kitsoma, who wanted to make sure that she had a place by my side, to my goblins who, even though we had a contract between us, still wanted that reassurance as well. I even saw the others standing off to the side with a smile on their faces while looking at the hallmark moment. Thank you guys, really. I was pretty much an outcast in my family, so this definitely gives me a warm feeling that was really needed. I couldn't help but be overwhelmed by the warmth that this moment gave me as my eyes started to water and tears started to fall. Analyze, LVL 05 out of 10. User is able to determine the stats of whatever is in sight. May malfunction if used on strong people or items. Chapter 45. A low blow and a new skill. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After our little family moment, we all decided to get back to training our individual skills. I found out that if I just used my skills without a target like an enemy or an opponent of some kind, then my skills only go up by January 4th th at LVL 0, meaning that I need to use a base level skill 4 times to get one increase in usage. It was a pain to figure that out solely because I wanted to level up my Breath of Light skill without endangering anybody by actually trying to face the attack head-on. I was able to get it to 2/10 but my MP bottomed out because of it, even including my fast MP regeneration. So I just decided to leave it for now as a last resort for a hard fight, like the upcoming Queen battle that I am sure will happen as soon as it recovers. Master, I think it is time for a test of strength, so to speak, with your companions. We all know you're the strongest here either due to your abilities or creativeness, but the others have been wanting to show off a bit and to also blow off some steam after what you put us through. Shorin said rather boldly. I was a bit taken aback by the looks on everyone's faces that nodded and agreed. Are you guys serious? You guys want to fight me? I couldn't help but stutter a little bit considering the sheer conviction that each of them had. Even Digger wanted to have a go at me, which I wasn't opposed to as I wanted to see what he could do as well. Fine, who's first? I said after a quick second of preparing myself and putting on a cocky attitude. If they wanted to have a go, then we can go. I consider these guys family, but I won't let them win without a few bruises to remember the occasion. Me, Master, I spoke first, so I called. What was the word? Oh right, I called dibs. I laughed so hard at that just because in my head Shorin had become somewhat of a butler type. And for him to use such a word from Earth like that was just hysterical. After a few seconds where I needed to catch my breath, we went to the training ground that was further extended by Sundar and Digger. Shorin, you had better be prepared because your master is going to go pretty quick right from the get-go. I am using this as a training exercise to strengthen my skills after all. I spoke as I smiled at my first minion who had grown to the point of being confident enough to speak on equal terms with me. Granted, I had proven how crappy of leader I am, so this is understandable. As long as he is still loyal, I have no complaints, I even encourage it. I will do the same now. Ms. Kitsoma, if you please start a countdown. As she started counting, I felt a short burst of lethargy go through my body. I didn't know what happened, but I didn't have time to think as Kitsoma yelled, "Go," and Shorin immediately used a new wind spell he created, which he yelled like a mainstream protagonist. Wind of the north, wind of the south, wind of the east and west, come together and collide to decimate my enemies. Tornado, shit, is all I thought before a circling windstorm picked up rocks and loose dust and dirt to form a circulating tornado of earth. I was rather impressed even as I started getting sucked up by the tornado and slung every which way, even while the small pieces of debris slammed into me at Mach 2 speeds. By the time Shorin ran out of MP, I was impaled by a few sharper pieces of rock and was heavily bleeding. Holy hell, Shorin, don't you think that was a bit much? This hurts. I may be strong but not that strong, man. I said as I was forced to use up a little bit of my stored nutrients to heal up. I wasn't really upset with him, I was proud he gained such power, but what I was upset about was that he had used up all of his MP in doing so. Right now his main job is as the healer/supporter. If he used up all his MP in one attack, then his main job would be pointless. This attack was extremely powerful, but you used up all your MP. Can you even stand right now if it wasn't for that staff? I said as I noticed his legs were wobbling like a toddler just learning to walk. I assure you I have plenty of MP left. Just if you don't mind, can you give me a second? He said with a smile as he tried to play it off. I of course knew otherwise as his master, and as payment I used lightning muscles and added quick step to appear right in front of him and used a quick headbutt to send him flying into the back wall. He got about a good 5 seconds worth of airtime before slamming into the wall, which I walked over slowly towards as everyone else ran to make sure he was okay. Shorin, are you okay? That was a powerful hit you just took. Tanoa and the other goblins crowded around him and asked. I walked up to see Shorin barely conscious, bleeding from his head. I felt a little guilty about doing so much damage. I guess the speed I used might have added a bit more power than I had expected. I quickly used life share to heal him back up and used MP share as well to get him back to full health. Shorin buddy, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you that badly. I said with a shameful look on my face as a heavy guilt laid on my mind. Oh stop it master, it was a fair fight. We all knew that physically I am one of the weakest here. I just didn't expect you to use your stored nutrients to heal. But I guess that was also my fault that the tornado had caused you so much damage. Okay, this is going to go round and round, so I am stopping it now. Shorent, your attack was amazing. You just need to work on your MP usage a bit, either increase your MP pool or learn how to lower the cost of your spells. Vexus, what you did was a bit surprising as I could almost see a faint afterimage, but you need to regulate your power when training with companions. We aren't trying to kill you, so don't go 100%, Sundar said like a veteran fighter. He was able to go on further about what we lacked either in technique or how we used them. I was thankful for his insights and decided to go ahead and use up some of the materials to create him an accessory or maybe a weapon. I don't really know, I just know that I needed to show him how thankful I was. Okay, so Shorent's turn is over now. It's our turn, Master. The two sisters spoke up at the exact same time, almost like they were the same person. It kinda spooked me out a little as I just had a flashback to twins standing in a hallway of a haunted hotel. I quickly shook my head. Sure, sounds good, but I am gonna need you two to never speak at the same time ever again. Okay. Let's go. They turned to each other with a look of confusion before shrugging and taking their position as my opponents. I decided to accept a fight with the both of them because I could tell that their true potential would only show itself when they were together. Okay, Master, we are ready whenever you are. I told you not to talk at the same time. It's creepy. But fine, I'll let you guys go first. Kitsoma, start the countdown. As yet again she yells, go. They both unleash a firebolt and a ball of ice and combine it together to create a fog. Oh ho ho ho, it looks like you two took one of my skills and used it as an idea to create your own. Very smart girls, I am very impressed. But can you girls keep it up whenever your opponent can remove it? I said with a smile as I shot out a small powered spatial bullet that I manipulated for maximum suction but severely decreased attack power in case they got hit. Quickly the fog was sucked into the small black hole that I created, and after all the fog was gone I dissipated the spell to make sure nobody was further affected. Aw, that's not fair. HMPH, Vinoa said as she was uncovered. Amazingly, she had sneaked behind me in that short time span and was about to hit me with what looked like a staff/club. It had a long handle, but at the end was a densely packed ball of unrefined mana crystal that could easily deal some damage as well as have a naturally occurring side effect of draining the enemy's mana. Holy hell, that was quick. Vinoa, how did you get behind me without me realizing it? And where did you get that staff? I asked. Don't forget about me, Master. Hiya, roared Tanoa as out of nowhere a misty form showed itself right above me and actually connected in, landing a hit straight on my head. I instantly felt my MP drain at a rapid pace as my eyes went blurry from the force. Oh damn, now that hurts. But you're gonna have to pay, little one. I quickly grab her and say. I jump up high, almost touching the ceiling, and perform a swirling dive bomb. I knew this would cause her extreme pain, but I was only using it to scare her. When we got close to the floor, I activated Quick Step to increase the strain on my muscles and land safely before dropping her. Ha ha ha, your master is very pleased with your hard work. After we are all done, I want to talk to you about what those staffs are and how you came to get them. I also want to learn how you both used the fog to such a degree of skillfulness. I was extremely proud of these two girls. As a normal goblin they seemed as old and worn out as a woman who had lost all hope in her life, but as soon as I became their master it seemed like they regressed and even aged to early teens or even younger. I could only feel like a proud father when they were able to hit me. Thank you, Master, we worked really hard in secret. They both said at the same time, ugh, then they left to go rest. Up next is Let's Go Digger. I wanted to decide my next opponent before anybody else stepped up, and it was about time that I saw him in action. Okay, but man, let me tell ya, I ain't a fighter. I am totally fine being a scout and having little to no action whatsoever. Yeah, I know, but when the time comes for you to act I need to have a better understanding of how you can fight for when that happens. Kitsoma, when you're ready. When she yelled, Digger instantly dug a hole and went underground. I could faintly sense him using detection, but due to the cave having multiple veins of unrefined mana crystal it disturbed my spell more. Before I was able to read where he popped up right below me and hit my dragon balls with a fist covered in stone. I shot out vomit-like breath attack as the pain surged through my stomach and forced everything else out. Oh shit! The others yelled before laughing as hard as they could. I was on the ground wheezing as it was hard to catch a breath. Digger came up to me and apologized. Hey, I'm sorry, but I told you I'm not a fighter. If I have to fight I do whatever it takes to end it quickly. He went and dived through a wall that led towards the ant colony shortly afterwards while the others were still laughing at me and could barely breath or even ask if I was okay. Shorent thankfully cast a small healing spell over me which lessened the pain enough for me to start to walk around. Motherfucker, that was not only a low blow but he even used his earth skills as well. You guys don't know the pain I just went through, well maybe Sundar, but still that was excruciating. Ahahaha dude, that was fking hilarious. The way you looked around before suddenly just going wide-eyed and shooting out a spray of vomit all over the wall was spectacular. I couldn't have paid to see a better show. Sundar the asshole said while slapping me on the back wheezing while trying to catch a breath. My gods, my lungs hurt, my abs help me, ha 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 ha. I saw Howie on the floor laughing while holding his stomach. Well, I'm so happy this was entertaining for you. I think it would be best if we postpone the rest of the fights till I healed up. Maybe till I gained some dignity back Oswell. I muttered that last part as I limped off to a corner to try and rest. I didn't really have any methods to heal myself except for life steal or using up my stored nutrients, but I wanted to save those for the really drastic situations. I needed to get something, anything, even if it was an incredibly low-level healing spell. It was better than nothing. I went back to the thought I had when I was still a hatchling and was nest-ridden after yet another fight with Orim. Back then I had wanted to learn a way to regenerate passively by circulating my body's energies, but at the time I was just starting to grasp at anything I could. But now maybe if I focused on my mana instead and combined the different skills I have using my unused skill synthesis, maybe I could get lucky. So I went through my skill list again and tried to find the best candidates for what I was looking for. After looking for a few minutes, unfortunately it looks like I didn't have anything that could give me what I want. I did however have the mana share and life share skill that could potentially make something. I also saw that I had multiple resistance skills, but I had a feeling that I needed a few more to really make something. I decided not to combine skills just because I wanted to first try and get the skill I needed first. I had the idea that using MP share I could create MP steal to get the counterpart to my life steal. I added that to the to-do list, but after thinking I could only think back that maybe manipulating the mana in my body could create some kind of passive skill that helped boost my natural healing. So with nothing to lose and with a shit ton of pain radiating from the boys, I decided to just say screw it and use my mana manipulation as I closed my eyes to focus. It took me over an hour, which thankfully the others could see that I was trying to do something and left me alone. But after that hour I could finally start to sense the pain go away slowly at first, then a cool refreshing feeling washed over my body and a ding sounded off. User has gained skill. Regan. User will recover from bodily harm slowly. Amount healed is determined by amount of MP used. Okay, so it looks like I gained an active skill instead of what I wanted, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. Hopefully at max level it will turn into a passive and I can become OP like the dream of every Isekai protagonist. I was thankful for the new skill as I opened my eyes to see the others staring at me with curious glances. Whoa guys, why are you staring at me like that for? Well, we were curious because it's been over an hour and suddenly you glowed green for a second. So we came over to find out what happened. Kitsoma with a sideways glance said as she leaned in closer and sniffed me. You don't smell different, so maybe you gained an ability. Yeah, I did as a matter of fact. And why did you just sniff me? I asked with a bit of a blush appearing on my cheeks. Oh, well, that was because Beast.kin can smell certain abnormalities. And I just wanted to make sure you're okay, she said while looking away shyly. By the way Vexus, you said you got a new skill, tell us what it is. Sundar took over the conversation, dragging attention away from the now shy Kitsoma. Well, I gained the skill called Regan. It lets me heal slowly by using up my MP. I figured it was about time learn something in case I do something stupid and get myself hurt again. Or you get a nut shot, isn't that what you meant to say, ha 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 ha? Howie said before making the others laugh yet again. I was embarrassed again but was quickly dragged out of that moment by a loud screech coming from the tunnels. Damn it, looks like it's go time, guys, get ready. Breath of light, 1. 2. Lightning muscles, 5. 6. Quick step, 7. 8. Life share, 1. 2. MP share, 11. 12. Spatial bullet, 8. 9. Mana manipulation, 20. 25. Regan, LVL00/10. User will recover from bodily harm slowly. Amount healed is determined by amount of MP used. Et. Chapter 46. The temporary disability. You are listening at novelfull.audio. We all hear as the loud screech echoes around the whole cave, making it seem as if there were creatures all around us. Vexus, this is bad. From what we saw, there were burnt piles of ashes everywhere. We didn't see the queen's body anywhere. If she is coming back for revenge, then she is going to be so pissed. I looked over at Howie and nodded because I knew all too well how pissed off I would be if somebody destroyed my family. Yeah, I know, I messed up pretty bad, but don't worry, I will have her focus on me, and you guys just make sure to provide support, but do not try and fight her straight on. We don't know what kind of power she has. They all nod and we get ready and prepare. Shorent cast a green light over us and I feel a slight boost to my body as a wave of comfort circulates through my body. It happened just in time as a slight tremor was felt, then I could feel it increasing in power as I soon started to hear multiple thuds echo off the walls. We soon saw the queen with parts of her body burned while some of her body was fine. I'm assuming that the royal guards shielded her just before the bomb went off. She instantly sees us and screeches once again and charges at us while she seems to grab the wall and pull out a giant ball of stone and then hurls it at us. Everybody dodge. I scream just before she throws it and I summon as much magic as possible and use lightning slash to block the giant stone. Both the stone and my claws covered in electricity collide and the stone gets slashed apart while I am thrown back from the pure force alone. I knew the stone was more powerful than it looked and that's why I didn't dodge like the others. The queen saw this and roared in frustration, then she ran towards me as I was slamming into the cave wall. Then suddenly a wave of fog covered the cave which startled the queen for a second, just long enough for Sundar to run by and grab me from the wall and dash away back into the fog. Kitsoma now, I heard Shorent yell shortly before a giant red fireball appear and soar and explode on the ant queen. Rrrr, the queen roared gutturally as I saw that a part of her face was burned away as the fog was blown away at that moment. It was a bit disgusting seeing her weird anti dangling there with steam still coming off of it. Vinoa, now do it. Shorent said again shortly before two misty forms appeared above her head and I saw as their bodies were bulging with tensed muscles as they slammed their clubs down and broke through the shell of her body and forcing her down onto the ground. The combined power through the mana drain from the stones was insane as I saw a visible line of brown mana appear from her body and drain into both of the unrefined stones, causing them to glow brown and shrink, refining and causing an even bigger drain. The line of mana eventually snaps as both of their stones glow in a bright light and become a deep brown with small specks of blue. Yay sister, look, our stones are refined, let's retreat and get new ones. Vinoa said before they both jumped off and turned misty before completely disappearing. What the hell was that? Did they just ninja escape? I'll be lying if I said that it wasn't cool to watch before shaking my head and charging at the queen before she gets back up. I use up the remaining amount of mana I had and open up my mouth and charge up a bright light before shooting it out directly into her face. Yeah, you bitch, eat this, I'll be sure to make good use of what you drop. I thought as I feel extremely fatigued shortly after the beam leaves my mouth and blasts her head open. Bits of her shell and flesh scatter and paint the cave wall. I could only sit on the floor of the cave as the blood and gore of the, now deceased, queen ant covered me and dripped off of me. "Hey guys, look at this," Howie said before showing us an egg that he got from within one of the larger pieces of the body. "Hell yeah, I told y'all I was gonna get a queen ant as a pet, and look, here is a fucking ant egg," I said excitedly as I took the egg out of his hands and caressed it, not caring about the viscous and gooey juices and pieces of flesh still covering the egg. I took a look at the egg and used analyze. Queen ant egg. Last egg of the previous queen. Still underdeveloped, warning. Egg is very fragile and weak. Suggest user to provide adequate protection in order to hatch pet without difficulty. Fuck, well guys, it's what I want, but my spell just told me that it's still underdeveloped and I will need to provide a lot of protection for this egg to hatch my new baby pet. I said, still excited but now with some anxiety mixed in. Well, you lucky fuck, great, good for you, now just sit there with your egg like a mother hen, Sundar said as he left me with a shake of his head, visibly eye rolling as he walked away. Don't hate, I yell while chuckling. The others walked away shortly after and start going through corpse again. Some bring back huge pieces of shell, while others bring back multiple crystals glowing brown. I use analyze on the drops just so it'll get some uses in. Queen ant shell piece. Piece of the queen ant shell that is very resistant to physical damage but weak to fire. Great component for armor. Earth magic core. Magic core of a creature that had an earth affinity, will enhance earth magic or for use as a material in multiple crafting projects. Well, we got potential armor material and a earth magic core. From what the spell said, it's used to enhance earth magic, or we can save it to use it in crafting, I said while thinking up the possibilities. I think we should save it, and maybe we can find someone to craft some armor out of the core and the shell. It should make a piece of armor that is very strong, Kitsoma said while she stared at me, almost knowing what was going through my mind. The rest agreed and we stashed it along with all the other shell pieces and other drops we didn't distribute. I was still so tired from using that one attack. I shouldn't have used so much mana to overcharge it. Even my mana isn't regenerating as I feel a burning sensation across my whole body that intensifies whenever I try to use mana absorption. I don't want the others to worry more than they already have over me, so I just grin and bear it and play it off. User has caused extreme damage to mana veins within body. User will experience a drastic decrease to mana capacity and will be unable to generate any more mana until repaired. Unknowingly to Vexus, the others can feel that he is not emitting any magical power. They can feel that he has lost a lot of power after that last attack. But they did not say anything for the same reason that Vexus didn't. They knew that he still felt bad and didn't want to make him feel any more guilt. Hey guys, I'll be honest, that last attack, although very effective, I did do some damage to my body and I can't use magic anymore. I will need to fix whatever is going on in my body, but I don't know what will help, I said, bringing everybody's attention immediately at me. Master, are you sure? That is a very big deal. Shorent runs over and begins to cast healing spells, but on his face was the look of somebody who knew the truth but was doing all he could to fight against the truth. Shorent buddy, yes it's true I can't use mana right now, but this isn't helping me. You're basically forcing mana into my body, and with the way it is now you're basically setting the inside of my body on fire and it's starting to hurt a lot. Thank God for pain resistance, am I right? Shorent stops immediately and starts profusely apologizing. He looked at me with a face of agony because his master is in pain and his whole existence right now is to heal somebody in pain. But when he heals his master, all he does is cause him pain. So Shorent, before you have an existential crisis, I'm gonna need you to snap out of it. I know your whole gig is to help people when they are in pain, but I promise I will be fine. This is just another bump in the road for me. This is going to force me to figure out other methods to live besides just using magic, well, until I can fix the mana veins in my body. Hey, didn't you learn the Regan skill? Can't you just use that to fix your mana veins or whatever you just called them? Howie said as he looked like a light bulb just went off in his head. Yes Howie, I did, however that damn skill needs mana to activate and I have a very limited amount already, so I haven't been using it in case anything else happens and I need to help out. They all look at me, then each other and back at me before finally just shaking their head in annoyance. Sylvania comes up to me and slaps my head. Blam, you idiot, do you think you're the only one here who can protect others? I'm pretty sure the rest of us combined can equal to one of you, oh powerful dragon. She says very sarcastically. Well, yeah, but I already put you guys through too much in such a short time. I don't want to be more of a burden on you guys. I mutter embarrassingly while I look down at my feet. Just rely on us, you idiot, we need you to get better as fast as possible. If you need protection then your friends can do it, just leave it to us and you do whatever you need to do. She smiles at me and sits down next to me as I smile back before nodding and closing my eyes to focus. I use up the last of my MP to activate Regan and I feel like a forest fire gets set within my body as my mana circulates, trying to repair my body. I try and focus on the mana veins that up until now I didn't know about, but hey, not anything I needed to know. Anywho, back to the forest fire. It slowly starts to die down as my MP runs out shortly after it starts, but even those short few seconds I could feel that it healed up a small portion of the damage. However, it's shitty because it's only 1 MP per minute. My absorption skill can't be used because it's so painful, as even the tiniest amount that enters my body is like being stabbed by a buster sword sideways. Guys, it's working. I healed a small amount with what I had left, but bad news is that the amount I healed is only enough for mana to enter my body but not enough to not stop the pain, so from now on I will be in constant pain until I'm fully healed. This is going to get completely masochistic, but I need a favor from you three who know MP share. I say as the idea in my head already scared me even with my fear and pain resistance. Lightning slash, 3. 4. Breath of light, 2. 3. Analyze, 5. 8. Regan, 0. 1. Chapter 47. Arrival of Duality. You are listening at novelfull.audio. They all look at me with a slight worried look before my 3 hobgoblin mages stand up and, almost like they already know what I'm going to say, start circulating their mana and start to absorb extra in preparation. Master, we are ready whenever you are. Shorent says with a look of loyalty and resolve to do whatever is necessary to help me. I know that part of this is because of my contract with him as his master, but still this small display of loyalty from these 3 are heartwarming. Okay, so first I'm going to go slow, it's gonna be painful and I might let out a few groans, but just bear with me, okay? I'm going to need a constant stream of mana to pull this off. All 3 of them nod as I mentally prepare to unleash hell on myself. Okay guys, let's go. As soon as I say this I activate Regan and the fire within me starts up like someone poured jet fuel on a match. The influx of mana from them kept the spell going, but the pain from receiving mana alongside using it and making it circulate my body was almost too much for me to handle. My mind was starting to shatter a little as the pain started to overtake my thoughts. Just kill me. This is hell, please just make it stop. Those thoughts were slowly becoming the only things that I could think of, to the point I started to scream out loud. Oh, this is hell, please just stop, I can't take it anymore. I screamed at the top of my lungs as a blue light started to envelope my whole body. Shorent and the others were going to stop until Kitsoma and Sylvania made them keep going. Do not stop, his body is repairing, the damage he sustained was too much for his mana veins and they are being forced to heal now. You guys cannot stop, you will just have to force yourselves to keep going. Do this for your master, he needs you know. Yes, I know he can do this, but he needs your help. If I could help I would, but it is up to you 3 to pull this off. He trusts us, we cannot let him down. They said a few words of encouragement to Shorent, Tanoa, and Vinoa to make sure they kept pouring mana into my body. They all kept a brave face, but as soon as I started screaming in pain, they all started to shed tears but kept their resolve to make sure their master is healed. Even if that meant that their master would go through tremendous amounts of pain first. Master, please, you can do this, we need you, Master. Leosa and Kana both yelled with passion, hoping their words could reach my barely conscious mind. I heard bits and pieces of everything that was said as I tried to withstand the pain. I knew my pain resistance wouldn't help much, but I didn't expect anything as bad as this. My whole body felt like it was melting and freezing all at the same time. I had to endure such extreme pain, but never like this, until after what seemed like days being trapped in a world of pain it finally started to lessen, not immediately but very very slowly, almost like a small droplet leaking from a faucet. It started slowly, and then the more it went on the pain started going away more and more until all that was left was a burning sensation within my chest. One final push, guys, let's go, use up all you have and give it to me. I forced out through the last of the pain. I knew that this was where the source of my magic came from, but from the level of pain that radiated from it even at the slightest touch of mana was 4x what I felt as I repaired my mana veins. I almost blacked out as I took the massive influx of mana and forced my Regan to focus on the source. It was like someone poured lava straight into my soul while making sure I stayed awake to experience it. The others were all starting to worry as the 3 hobgoblins had long run out of mana to share, but the blue light that made a cocoon around me was still very visible, and it seemed to even vibrate and even at some point seemed like it was breathing. Hours passed by this way as the others took turns watching over my cocoon. All the hobgoblins had fallen into a deep sleep that freaked the others out. They wouldn't wake up no matter what the others did. It seemed like their life was tied to whatever was happening to their dragon companion. 3 days later, Sundar POV. The hobgoblins were still unconscious and Vex's cocoon had stopped making any sounds. It seemed like it would be soon and he would emerge, but the bastard was taking his sweet time coming back to us. The rest of us that were still awake had made up our minds to keep watch over these guys. I would go out on patrol with Howie to make sure no other goblins showed up. Kitsoma and Sylvania wanted to stay behind to watch over his cocoon and the others, making sure nothing strange would happen. 4 days later, we decided to go explore the ant colony to see if there were any ants that still lived. We knew that there was an egg chamber but didn't know if they hatched or somehow died after the queen did. We found a small colony that had started in the very back of the cave. We didn't kill them right away as they all started running away from us whenever we were spotted. It looked like this colony is very weak compared to before. The ants themselves only came up to my knee and didn't pose any threat. We even saw the queen entering and leaving the colony just like the other ants. It almost seemed like she was working along with her subjects instead of staying in one place and turning herself into a breeding machine. Oh, by the way, I took the system that Vexus gave me and started training my skills. Thankfully, even after he was turned into a cocoon, the system still was active. I started training with Howie every so often, using my earth manipulation to produce all sorts of objects. I made all sorts of items like bowls, knives, spoons, really just small stuff at first, but then once the skill leveled up I got a wave of inspiration that made me want to make bigger and better things. I succeeded in crafting a stone axe that I embedded one of the sisters' refined crystals into. As soon as the crystal was placed, it melted into the axe and made the whole thing stronger, and it even took on a whole new look and even gained like a slight metallic sheen, kind of like a low-quality copper. Guys, come quick, the cocoon is cracking. I heard from Kitsoma, so we ran full sprint back to base to witness what came out and prepare for the worst just in case he lost his mind within all the pain he suffered. POV. How long was I in the darkness? It felt so long. My mind was at first filled with nothing but pain. Soon after the pain disappeared, I was left with nothing but darkness. Memories would pass by almost like a movie screen, replaying scenes from my old life that was starting to be overshadowed by the memories of my new one. The face of my old mom was starting to turn into the face of a dragon as my mom from this life took over and whatever memory that was playing before disappeared. This happened so many times, but I could never recall what the overshadowed memories were about until eventually I stopped trying. I knew that I was reborn from somewhere else, but where that place was become nothing but a faint dream to me. After what felt like years being trapped in the darkness, I felt an odd sense to push back against the darkness. I pushed and pushed until eventually a crack appeared and light shone through and dispelled a small part of the darkness around me. I could see that outside whatever I was in was a cave. I could see faces of people that looked familiar to me. I could see a huge man with armor covering his back almost like a shell, but it came up and over his head like a helmet. I saw a small rat-like creature that stood up on two legs. I saw someone who had the arms and legs of a huge beautiful blue bird filled with feathers but the body of a woman. Lastly, I saw a woman who had a huge bushy tail that looked so soft and fluffy. Her face looked worried mixed with fear as she looked at me. My chest squeezed tight seeing this, and a sadness overtook my mind as I thought of how guilty I felt making her look that way, not even knowing why I felt that way. Hey you fuck, snap out of it, this is my body and you're wasting time. Ugh, who is this loud voice I heard yelling in my brain? His body. This is my body as far as I know. You idiot, I black out for a second and this is what happens. Give me my body back now. Wow. I suddenly feel a sharp stabbing pressure combined with a constant pounding almost like something is trying to get out. I will not give up this body. This is my new body, I was reborn into this new body and I refuse to give it up no matter what, I say to the weird voice in my head. Listen to me, this is my body. I was forced to use a very dangerous method to protect my friends but ended up damaging our body in such an extreme way that I had to basically reform our power. Now I know this may be weird to you but I promise just give up control back to me and we can figure this out. But man, this isn't your body to control. I don't know how you came to be but this is my body, not yours. The loud voice said such weird things. I felt like I needed to fight back, but what did I know about what was outside this dark place? All I could see was the people looking at me, but I didn't know who they were or who even was I. The yelling voice seemed to know more about what was going on and it even promised to help figure this out with me. In the end I gave up control to the yelling voice and went to drift in a sea of darkness. But instead of darkness there was an office of sorts. It looked more like a mechanical room filled with buttons and levers of all kinds. There was even a huge TV that covered a wall that showed whatever, the body. My body. Our body. Was looking at. Soon I heard a mechanical voice ring out that sounded familiar. User has gained the skill. Dual Mind. Regan, 1. 2. Dual Mind. User has gained another mind capable of independent thought and can even be used for multiple actions such as high-speed thought, dual thought processing, and many more. Can be upgraded once a certain action takes place. Chapter 48. A Dragonoid appears. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Holy hell, that was crazy. All I remember was the intense pain from forcing my body to heal and then poof, I black out. Then to make matters worse I wake up only to find that some gloomy punk had taken control over my body and was about to break through the cocoon that surrounded our body. Thankfully I was prepared for this and had a feeling that my mind actually did break apart because of the pain, and that this guy was actually the mind that was supposed to be this body's true personality. Which I can totally get why he was so gloomy. Hell, if I didn't have such a mature mind, going through all the bullshit that I did would have turned me emo too. But anyways, I was able to get control back from the future edgelord and was just about to break through and escape from the cocoon. Hey, what's our name? What the FCK? It can speak to me. The cocoon shook as I was startled by a voice appearing out of nowhere when I thought I had gotten rid of it. Though the new skill would just increase my thinking power, not actually give me another mind. Although it did say it would be independent, so I guess I should have seen this coming. Yeah, my name is. Well, I guess our name is Vexus. Vexus. I like it. Next question. When can I take over? Let me think. Never sounds good, my man. What, that's not fair, this is my body, not yours. Hey dipshit, calm down. You only came into existence like a few minutes ago. What the hell do you mean, your body? It's been mine ever since I came to this world. I didn't hear anything else after that, so I just took the silence as the dual mind giving up. Next I need to get out of this cocoon, so I push with all my strength and surprisingly the cocoon just fell apart and I looked at the others. Hey, did you miss me? I said with a smile on my face before looking over and seeing the goblins on the ground sleeping almost looking like corpses. Oh God, what happened to them? I drop down next to them and start checking them out. I check their pulse, breathing, everything I could remember about checking to see if someone is still alive. Vexus. Vexus, hey, snap out of it, we need to talk. I was snapped out of my mental focus by a slap across my face before looking up at Sundar. I get up but shortly noticed that I was looking Sundar in the face and not up at him like I usually have to. What the hell? What's going on? Did I evolve again? I look down and notice with wide eyes that I was not on all fours anymore. I was standing on two legs. Then in disbelief I look down at my hands and see that I in fact have two arms and hands. Ah, holy FCK, what happened to me? I screamed as I looked at myself falling down onto my but only to smash my tail, which sent a sharp pain up my spine. HHH, damn it, what the hell, someone please explain what is going on. I looked at everyone only to see looks of confusion and shock on their faces. Oswell. Vexus, I don't know. I think you may have evolved and gained a humanoid form, but I can't be sure. The gift you gave me is saying that you are classified as a dragonoid now. Sundar kneeled down in front of me and said as he placed his hand on my shoulder to try and help calm me down. I was able to calm down enough to check out my system only to have what he said be true. Vexus variant dragonoid. Smoke/space STR 25 Vit 40 SPD 80 Dex 40 Con 80 and 90 Health 2500 MP 1200. It was all startling, but I guess I just have to get over it if the system acknowledges it. I would be lying if I said that I was hoping for a humanoid form soon, but I didn't expect such a boost to my stats. I mean, come on, look at that health, and it looks like my stats are more suited for speed builds. But seeing as I am a dragon, I also got great con and can be a bit beefy when in fights. Sweet, I was scared before, but after seeing the huge boost this new form gave me, I am totally down with this. But I did kind of like my dragon form. It had grown on me and I had plans on developing means to help me solve the lack of hands. But now that's all thrown out the window like a dude who got caught with somebody's wife. I did a mental 180 in front of everyone and started jumping up and down to test out my new body. I started punching the air and grabbing anything I can grab just so I can feel using hands again. Unfortunately, in my excitement, I had grabbed and stroked not only Sylvania's feathers but also Kitsoma's fluffy and oh so enticing tail. I didn't think anything of it until they both punched me in the face and sent me crashing to the ground with their combined strength. It didn't hurt, but it was the shock that brought me back. Haha. You idiot, you don't grab a woman's tail without her permission. Fox beast, men and women value their tails and only allow the ones they love to touch them. You moron. She runs away down the hall and Howie chases after her while laughing his ass off at me and says he will make sure she's okay. Sylvania on the other hand comes up to me and starts sliding her hand up and down my arm. It was a shock and I'm sorry, but if you wanted to do something like that all you had to do was ask. She said while looking at my eyes with a smirk, and I swear I could see the lewd images playing in her eyes. Well, I appreciate that, but I was just so caught up with the excitement of having a hands that I lost myself there for a minute. I'm sorry, it won't happen again, I said while blushing like a ripe tomato. Ah well boo, I thought we were actually getting somewhere after all this time, she said as she pouted and got up and walked away to go make sure Kitsoma came back. Man, that was hilarious to watch. I can't believe you did something so bold while not even paying attention, Sundar said after he got enough air to breathe. Hey, that was my bad, I was just super happy, dude. I haven't had hands in so long that I just got lost in the moment. Oh shit, wait, no, I didn't mean like I ever had them before, but like I saw the lizard men back in the village have hands and I was jealous. Yeah, that's what I meant. I already know your secret, dude. Shorin told all of us while you were down in the pit when we were debating on what we would do. I was a bit shocked by that, but after you gave me your system I knew what he said was the truth. We all know it and we still see you as our leader, man, that part will never change. I was shocked at how after knowing such a huge secret as your friend and companion was actually a reincarnated soul, but to also keep seeing him as such with nothing changing was overwhelming for me, and I ended up hugging the man. I know it's a bit weird to hug another man, at least it is for me, but I see him as my brother, and after what he said I just couldn't let it go with words. By the way, Shorent, you are in deep shit. Now all of you get up, I know you're awake now. I can see your stats using my ability. I said, glaring at the hobgoblin's poor attempt at acting like he was still unconscious. Ah well, master, I figured it would be best to let you have your moment with your companions without us intervening. But okay, everyone he knows, so get up. He said, and shortly after a few smiling faces from the girls was all I saw as they looked at me and said. So does this mean that Sylvania and Kitsoma are going to be our mistresses? Kana said like it wasn't embarrassing to me at all. Pew, Kana, I mean it's not something I haven't thought about, but now isn't the time to think of such things, don't you think? I said, blushing even more. Well, master, we like them, so we wouldn't complain if you made them yours. Shorent said with a shit-eating grin, knowing full well that how I felt about this whole thing. Thankfully the others had come back at that time, and I shut the others up and rushed over to Kitsoma. Kitsoma, I am so sorry, I got caught up in the moment and didn't realize what I was doing until you two punched me. Please, can you forgive me? I said while kneeling to her. I didn't want her to be mad at me. I liked her and Sylvania, but seeing as how Kitsoma was actually a shy girl when it came to stuff like this, while Sylvania was a pervert, I knew I had to apologize. She looked at me while blushing and muttered. Yeah, I guess I can forgive you. But don't do again without my permission. Oh, hear that, boss, you do it again, but you just gotta ask, hahaha. Howie said as he smirked at me and laughed. That's not what I meant. I mean I do like you, but I don't know, leave me alone. Kitsoma yelled and ran off again in embarrassment. Oh great, you idiot, we just got her back. This time you stay here and me and the girls will go after her. Come on, let's go. Sylvania said as her and the other hobgoblin women ran after her. The rest of the guys just stared at me after they left. I decided to not acknowledge anything and just got up and started trying out my skills and see if there was any difference in how they activated now that my body had such a drastic change. It seemed that nothing had changed and I could use everything just like before. Granted, I think that if I was still in my dragon form and had these stats I would probably be a lot faster, just because 4 legs are inherently better at running than 2 legs, but at the same time 2 legs offer a wider range of maneuverability, so I was fine with the trade-off. I sat down after a short workout and decided to try my hand at crafting now that I had thumbs. I started off with just grabbing a chunk of dirt in each hand and then using my synthesis skill to see what would happen. The 2 chunks seemed to meld together into a large dirt pile in my hands and a pop-up appeared. Synthesis complete, hardened dirt acquired. Well, what did y'all expect, a shiny and unbreakable material? I knew the result was going to more or less be something like this, so I just chalked it up to an experimental success. Then I thought, well, what if I combine 2 hardened dirts together? Would it create stone? Or something else? Unfortunately my synthesis skill only allowed for 2 per day at the moment, so that plan had to wait until tomorrow, but for now I had planned on combining a new spell, but first I had to get the prerequisite first. Hey Shorent, come here for a quick minute, I got something I need to do to you. I said with a poorly concealed maliciousness. Okay master, but please don't hurt me, I'm sorry for whatever I did. He said meekly as he approached me. You told everyone my secret, that deserves some kind of punishment, don't you think? I said as I touched his back, and using mana manipulation and using the power of my authority with the connection between us, I forced his mana to get sucked into my body and be absorbed. Ah master, this is very uncomfortable, I don't like this. He said, squirming. I felt guilty doing this, but I didn't want to go and start a fight with a goblin or find an ant just to learn one skill. Plus I planned on giving it back after I got what I wanted, which didn't take long as a ding sounded off and I got the pop-up I was waiting for. User has acquired the skill Mana Steal. I immediately sent a rush of mana back into Shorent and patted him on the back. Great job Shorent, as expected of my number one minion. You helped me get the skill I wanted, I said, and then activated synthesis. Synthesizing the skills. Life Steal and Mana Steal. Complete, user has acquired skill. Vampirism, the FCK. Synthesis, 1. 2. Vampirism. User will now be able to steal the life force from other living creatures and use that to heal from wounds. User will also experience swings of extreme hunger and irrational thoughts if hunger is not satiated. Chapter 49. The Mind, the Egg and the Ants. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I was a little startled by the notification saying I had acquired the ability to become a vampire. I knew I was basically gaining a leeching ability to use on opponents, but I didn't think the combination of those two would end up like this. Master, is there something wrong? Shorent said after he got up and saw that I had a look of confusion on my face. Oh, nah, nothing's wrong, but I did just gain a skill that lets me leech the life force and mana all at once from someone. It's called vampirism. Sundar and Howie both had wide open jaws after I said that and started looking around for some unknown thing like what I just said was a secret. Hey man, if you really turned into a vampire I'll still follow you, but don't say that out loud like it's no big deal. If the Church of the Sun were to hear you they wouldn't think twice before killing you. Sundar said in a hushed tone. Yeah, they are fanatics who don't care if you were family or not. If you turned into any kind of undead they would strike you down without a second thought. I don't even think those bastards have hearts. One time I heard they destroyed a whole town just because a family had been turned but were being hidden by the father's brother in his basement. They heard a rumor and after a small investigation they just wiped the whole town out after saying that it was unclean. Howie told me and afterwards shivered like what he said was too frightening to think about. It would seem that I have to be careful of what I gain. But does it matter that I am a dragon? I mean, my race is one of the guardians of the Dark Mountain. I cocked my head and asked. Man, they don't give a shit about that. They have an entire army that is getting stronger every day and the rumor mill is even saying things like they alone are going to fight against the Shadow Eaters. I could believe that. Even in my old world I never was much of a religious guy after growing up. The wars that were waged or the mega churches that were built, and not to mention the televangelists who would actually broadcast themselves like some kind of holier-than-thou streamer. I couldn't stand to go to church and waste my time listening to a boring speech about stuff like that. But seeing as how even in this world there were crazy lunatics that thought themselves a higher presence than others just cemented in my head that no matter where I went religion would always be there and as powerful as ever. I just hoped that later on down the line I don't have to fight these guys. But I quickly shook that thought from my head as I turned back to the guys. I looked at each of them and then I remembered. Hey, where is Digger? He has been gone for a very long time, right? Oh, he's fine. He checked in while you were evolving and he said he preferred to be a loner and just do regular checkups with us. Sundar was quick to explain to me that Digger had actually become a spy for us when it came to the goblins and had actually started to infiltrate the goblin village to scope it out better. Wow, that guy is very proactive, and with his unique fighting style I think he should be okay. But maybe I should come up with a way to help him out. Maybe some light armor or maybe a silent weapon. What do you guys think? I asked them because they would know him best, or well, at least better than me, seeing as how I was out of commission for a few days. Shorent raised his arm, bringing our attention to him. Ahem, master, if I may, I think it would be best to hold off on giving him armor just because it might hinder his abilities in case he needed to run away. A weapon would probably benefit him more, and I was actually thinking of some kind of handheld ranged weapon. I snapped my fingers as an idea popped into my head. Wow, that's awesome, that sounds like a great idea. I don't exactly know how to make stuff, but maybe if I tinkered with some things I could come up with a basic design. Good idea, Shorent, thanks. I said, then I left and headed over to the pile of drops they had accumulated during my nap. Okay, so I would need a good solid, yet flexible, working material. Ah, this would do nicely. I said as I rummaged around and found a bow that Sundar said a goblin dropped on one of their patrols. I analyzed it just to be sure it was useful as it is or as a component. Shoddy wooden bow. Bow used by low-ranking goblins. The wood is from a small shrub that grows near cave springs, and the bow string is made from arachnid silk. Due to the maker's low level of crafting, the bow is only able to shoot upwards of 10 meters. FCK me, I was wondering where all the spiders were since it was a damn cave, but it looks like the freaking goblins have either tamed them and domesticated them or they have some way to harvest the silk from wild ones. But I was interested at seeing if I could find a goblin craftsman. Maybe if I tamed it I could make it into our team's craftsman, and along with me we could create monstrous weapons to rule the world. Ahahaha. Wait, no, stop, let's not get ahead of ourselves, stay in the present Vexus, no chasing the rabbit down its hole. I shook my head and decided to take apart the bow, and after seeing how the bow was actually about the size of Howie, I decided to cut the wooden part in half and then shape the two halves as smaller bows. I used my claws that had evolved to become even sharper if I infused mana into them and shaved off the wood until they came down to rounded off points with a small notch where I could string it at. After a few minutes with each piece I measured the string, and after making sure I had enough extra in case I messed up I cut the string into proper sizes for the smaller bows. I had Shorin come over and help me because my hands weren't really made for dexterous movements but more used for combat. But after he finished I had two small bows that were semi-capable of shooting out bolts that I had Sundar make using his earth manipulation. I had him make a batch 10 and set them aside for the testing phase. Then I had to figure out a way to attach this to the wrist of Digger, who, even though he was an actual mole, he was way bigger than the moles of Earth. I didn't want to impede on his digging ability but at the same time maybe increase it if I could. I again went down a rabbit hole and thought of making him carapace clawed gloves that could help him dig through the earth like a bullet. Man, my mind is really scatterbrained. Is it because I gained a new mind and the other me is thinking of other things at the same time? Or is the ADHD of my past life re-emerging in my new one? Those thoughts started popping up which distracted me even more. Hey, having trouble thinking? Oh man, you again. What do you want? Can't you see I'm trying to make something for our companion? If you're going to just pop in like that, at least give me a warning next time. Nah, I'm good, you can just deal with it, bud. But listen, that's not why I intruded on your little crafting session. I came because I noticed that our mind is starting to get a little haywire and different thought were starting to distract us. Me from resting, and you from doing whatever it is that you're doing. By the way, I know you're trying to make a handheld crossbow, but how are you going to make it so that he can reload it or even fire? I went through your whole mental fortress and I saw no memories of you making such a thing in your last life. Man, will you shut up? This is a fantasy world filled with magic and skills. Plus I have the system to help me, so why shouldn't I take this time to try and learn something new? But what do you mean our mind is going haywire? I know that I had a slight disorder back on Earth but not here. I heard nothing else for a while as I sat in silence. Thankfully the others thought I was just thinking of what to do with the materials I had in front of me and didn't say anything. Then my dual mind came back. I saw that you did have something like what we are experiencing, but it's almost like something outside of our minds are what is actually affecting us right now. Shit. Okay, we have the mental fortress that should help block mental attacks or at least lessen the effects like it's doing now. I want you to go and see if you can maybe find out which direction the influence is coming from. If it's within the cave with us or if it's some other outside force at play. The other mind was pretty cooperative, seeing as how I got the feeling he was a bit of a bastard, but I got the feeling that if used right I could definitely use this ability to grow even stronger. While the other me was off doing that, I got back to the task at hand. And unfortunately the other me was right. I didn't have a single idea about how to make the crossbow. So I just asked Sundar, who I had guessed was a veteran of some kind. Hey Sundar, do you know anything about crossbows? I asked while showing him the basic design I had made with the smaller bows. Well, to be honest, I'm not much of a ranged fighter. But luckily for you I did have a good friend who loved to use crossbows. Sadly he died when the slavers ambushed us. Sundar said with a look of remembrance and sadness in his eyes. I could see the hurt shown in his face as he remembered his dear friend dying from those bastard slavers. I walked up to him and patted him on the shoulder. Hey, we will get revenge for your friend. It may not be today, or tomorrow, but someday when we are strong enough, we will destroy this whole organization. Plus they dared to capture a dragon, so they gotta pay for that. I said with a chuckle at the end, trying to lighten the mood. I never was good at sad moments. He chuckled with me and nodded. Yeah, sounds good. He shook his head real quick and slapped his cheeks. Anyways, back to the crossbows. He had showed me how he maintained his, and after the many years we worked together I even helped him a time or two, so I have a good grasp on enough of the basics to help wing it. He said while walking up and grabbing one of the bows. We need to make an attachment sleeve that we place this onto that a person can slide over their wrist. Then we need to make a catch that will hold the string, then a trigger that will release the catch. The bolts will have to be remade to allow a notch that can fit the string while also holding in place so as not to fall off in case of an emergency dodge or something. He went on and on about what we should do while I got to work on finding suitable material. We found some shoddy goblin leather that we could use to make the sleeve, but when I picked it up a stench so horrible and foul invaded my nostrils that I instantly dropped it and gagged. I analyzed the horrendous piece of material to find out just what the hell it was. Goblin loincloth. A low-level goblin's only form of clothing. As they gain a higher ranking within the hierarchy, they are given better and better clothing. Caution is advised as the goblins usually did not wash such clothing. Ugh, of course. But I had an idea, so I just put that aside until the ladies got back. I then looked through again and found some more wooden bows and what looked like small clubs. I took those and with Sandar's direction I carved a small base and a catch that would hold the bow and also be able to slide the string back and be held by the mechanism. It took some work to make a trigger system that was usable with a wrist motion, but using string from one of the used bows we were able to make a basic pulley system that Digger could wrap around one of his fingers, and then with a slight pull he would be able to shoot the stone bolts. I felt so proud of myself and so thankful to Sundar for helping me. With his help I gained the skill, crafting, and he told me he had gained a skill called teaching. We both were happy after that, so we called it from there and decided to relax until the others got back. We had finally completed the crossbow about a few hours ago and we had just finished with our break when we heard the ladies coming back. They entered and I saw Kana was dragging a huge ant corpse while Tanoa was holding onto the queen egg that I got shortly before I evolved. Oh hey guys, I'm Kana, why do you have that, and also thank you Tanoa for looking after the egg. So many things happened that I had completely forgotten about it. I said as I walked up to them. I saw that Kitsoma had started blushing again when she saw me and looked away. Hey Kitsoma, I want to apologize again for what I did to you. I'm sorry I did something that was inappropriate. I apologized again, I didn't want to lose a friend over my stupid actions. She nodded and said that she was okay and that she accepted my apology, but she still needed some time to think things through. I didn't exactly know what she had to think about, but I just let her be. Tanoa on the other hand was excited and came up to me and showed me the egg. Look master, the egg has gotten bigger. By accident we had a splash of ant blood get on the egg and it actually absorbed it. It got bigger and I could tell that the shell itself got stronger as well. She said like a schoolgirl with a new doll. I could see that she was really happy with it, so I decided to let her have it from now on. Yeah, I wanted a queen ant for a pet, but after seeing how happy she was just talking about it, I couldn't bring myself to take it back. I kneeled down to her level, which I felt odd doing seeing as how about a week ago we were eye level with each other. Hey Tanoa, I have a new job for you. I want you to take care of this egg for me, can you do that please? Her eyes got real big and wide and a huge smile appeared on her face. Oh really master. You mean it? Why I get to be mama and hatch an egg? This isn't what I had in mind when I wanted her to take care of it. I just smiled and nodded my head. Yes honey, you can hatch the egg. Now I want you and your sister to take good care of this egg. She can be a huge help to us when she hatches, so do all you can to make sure she can grow big and strong, okay? Oh master, thank you, thank you, thank you. The two sisters gave me a huge hug after giving the egg to Leosa to hold, that is. They actually had enough strength to make me choke a little. I was surprised. Master, we brought back this ant because it showed signs of mutation that wasn't apparent with the ones we fought before. This one seems to have a smaller mandible section, but at the same time it's shown higher mental functions by leading a group of warrior and worker ants alike in a coordinated fight with us. If it wasn't for Leosa's idea of killing it first, we might not have come back. Kana said while the sisters were still hugging me and thanking me over and over. Great, a new threat, and again it's those damn ants. Vex's skills. Analyze, 6. 8. Crafting, LVL 00 out of 10. The user can now craft with basic materials. Higher materials may result in failure. Sondar's skills. Earth manipulation, 0. 10. Teaching, LVL 00/10. User can provide a slight proficiency bonus when teaching others on a subject the user has personal experience with. Chapter 50. The Trap and the Blood. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I examined the ant's corpse and I found out a few things. 1. It had a softer shell, and indeed, like Kana said, it had smaller mandibles. 2. Its antennae were overdeveloped and had turned into what kind of looked like a radio tower of sorts. I couldn't think much else, so I just used Analyze to figure out what was really going on. Cavernous relay ant. A worker ant variant bred specifically to relay telepathic commands from the queen. Its egg was laid in an area with a concentrated amount of mana crystals that ended in the brain of the ant, growing an overdeveloped brain and telepathic powers, but at the cost of becoming physically weaker than the rest. Oh well, that explains it a bit. I got an idea out of nowhere to crack open its head and look at its brain. It says that it was in a concentrated area filled with mana crystals, and I wanted to see just what changes from what I knew brains looked like. I know that its brain might be different from what I knew, but I was still curious. Hey Kitsoma, can you come here please? I need a better light source to get a good look at this thing's brain. I asked, hoping she wasn't too upset to not help me, and I also hoped that she would go back to being herself even for a little bit and not shy away from me. Yes sure, so what exactly are you doing? She asks as she conjures a fireball and brings it closer than I would have liked. A part of me feels like it's hotter than usual, especially seeing as how I have the heat resistance skill. And my thoughts were made true as a pop-up appeared. Heat resistance, 30. 35%, oh shit, so she mad. I knew what I did was bad, but I didn't think I deserved to get roasted over it. User is experiencing extreme heat. Suggesting user move from source, otherwise internal systems could overload. Great, so not only is she upset but she's gonna kill me, great. I sighed and turned back to her. Okay, talk to me, why are you trying to roast me alive? I said with a sigh as I stared at her. I could see in her eyes that she was upset and her eyebrows were furrowed. Oswell. I think we need to go somewhere and talk for a minute, Vexus. She said as she waved her hand and snuffed out the fireball and walked down the tunnel. Ugh. Sigh. Okay guys, hold down the fort, we will be right back after I get my ass handed to me by her. I shook my hand and followed her. After a few minutes of us walking, I kept thinking that she was going to turn around at any moment and just start yelling at me, but I started to notice that she had started to walk funny and even stumbled a few times. Her body started having weird twitches and movements. Hey Kitsoma, you okay? You're acting kinda weird. Yes, I am fine, you should not worry and just follow me deeper. Okay I guess, but don't you think we need to bring some of the others if we plan on going any deeper into the tunnel? I stopped walking as a dangerous thought came to mind. No, just you and me, it is safe. No ants. She said with a twitch of her body as she turned back to me. I saw that her eyes had a weird gleam to them now, and it looked like her eyes were trying to send me a message, but I just couldn't figure out what it was. Vexus, follow me further down. I need to show you something. A few moments go by in silence as I decide to use analyze on her and then open my eyes wide in shock. Kitsoma. Fox Beast Woman. Currently physically possessed by outside psychic force. Shit, I knew it. Her eyes this whole time were trying to tell me that it wasn't her that was in control. I should have guessed by the appearance of such an odd ant. I stared at her, and after breathing in deep and trying to come up with a plan quickly, I reply. Hello, Queen Ant. It seems that you grew up in the past week since I killed your mother. How did you know? I could see all of this woman's memories and could imitate her flawlessly, so how? She said as she took a step back in shock. I possessed the ability to see detailed information about whatever I set my eyes on. Even if you could fool somebody with how flawlessly you use somebody's body, it could never fool me. I said confidently, I see. If you had just followed this woman and fell into my trap, then I would not be forced to use my backup plans. But now you shall suffer. Then Kitsoma's body falls to the ground and I start to hear loud thundering footsteps all around us as from the wall came a small horde of ants, from workers to warriors, and even a couple of the new relay ants appeared. It seems that the queen had planned on using Kitsoma's body to lead me further down the tunnel and deeper into the trap. Thank the gods above that I had analyze, but I knew without it that something was wrong with her. I grabbed onto Kitsoma tightly and used my lightning muscles to jump and combined it with quick step to quickly evade the various ants' attacks. I would shoot the occasional spatial bullet just to get rid of some of the workers and make my escape easier, but when it came to the warriors it required a bit more work. They would still survive even after getting hit by one of my bullets and even seemed to get stronger for a short period afterwards. I felt a slight boost to my bullet strength after the last one shot out, but it's still only equal to a slightly bigger amount of damage dealt to the warriors. I could only imagine how strong the royal guards were, seeing as how they were the ones responsible for guarding the queen. After a few close calls in which they switched from targeting me to targeting the still unconscious Kitsoma, I used my electric scale of vitality buff, which I hadn't had to use for a while. Shortly after activating, my body was shocked with a huge bolt of energy that supercharged my muscles and even caused my scales to arc electricity. My claws started to arc electricity as well. I felt like time had slowed down by a fraction of a second as my brain was being overclocked. I could now easily dodge the attacks of the ants, almost like I could sense their movements before it even happened. I knew I needed to escape and make sure that Kitsoma was safe, so I used the sudden boost of energy and, leaving a faint afterimage, I dashed through the small horde and ran towards the others. I raced back to the base as a mental screech echoed in my mind. I was halted in my tracks from that mental attack. I had the mental fortress skill, but up until now I had not been attacked like this, so it was jarring to say the least. But seconds later I was back to normal thanks to my dual mind taking control while I was under the influence of it. Side note, I am finding more and more uses for the gloomy FCK. Anywho, as we arrive back at the base, I quickly shout for Shorin to come take Kitsoma and then have Sundar block up the entrance to hold off the ants while I rested from overusing my muscles. I was on the verge of being paralyzed from the mass amounts of electrical currents rushing through my body. It was only me and the dual minds' combined wills that was able to push our body to keep going. Kana and the others quickly picked up various weapons and got prepared just in time for multiple loud bangs to come from the temporary wall. I knew we were in bad trouble, seeing as how the relay ants were still alive, but unless the queen used another mental attack, I think that my companions would be able to handle it. I was able to move my hands as the wall started to shake and it started cracking, so I shot out a few spatial bullets and using mana manipulation I basically turned them into spatial mines that stayed in place just in front of the now crumbling wall. That's all I can do until my body recovers from overusing my buffs. You guys need to hold them off so I can use Regan to speed it up, I said before closing my eyes and rushing the healing energy through my body. My muscles that were tightly wound and stretched started to slowly relax, and the remaining electrical energy was being absorbed by the cells in my body. I heard fighting going on all around me, but I stayed focused to make sure I could help them end this fight faster. I needed to help my friends, but because I fell for a trap I was forced to make them shoulder this all by themselves. I felt so bad for this, but I made up my mind to make this up to them after all this was over, no matter what it took. My body was finally finished healing as I opened my eyes and saw that near the wall that was now crumbled and broken was dead worker ants that had gotten sucked in by my space mines. Sundar and Kana were tag-teaming multiple warrior ants, while Tanoa and Vinoa had cast their misty magic and were using guerrilla tactics within the mist on the various weaker ants. Leosa and Howie was targeting the relay ants but was having a hard time because of the few warrior ants that stayed next to them. Sylvania was with Shorent and protecting the unconscious Kitsoma. I jumped up and instantly went to help Kana and Sundar. Due to their efforts I was able to surprise one of the ants with a few lightning slashes to the base of its head. With each slash a deep gash would get deeper and deeper until the last one decapitated it. I did that a couple more times to kill 2 more warrior ants, and with Kana and Sundar in tow we went and started attacking the warriors guarding the relay ants. I jumped onto one of the warriors and decided to test out my new vampire skill. I tried to suck out its life force just by putting my hands on it, but nothing happened and I was forced to jump off to avoid an attack from the side by one of the others. I was really confused about why my new skill didn't work and I really didn't want to take a bite just to experiment. But about that time Sundar had created an earth spike and shot it towards the warrior, piercing its hard shell and causing a huge gush of green goo to explode forth from it. I felt a strange urge to consume the green goo because of how much life force was still in it. I felt my mind drawing me towards the green blood of the ant as hunger started rising, and then my dual mind spoke. This feeling. It has to be because of the vampirism skill. We are getting drawn in. We have to drink it. It may sound gross, but our hunger is starting to overtake our minds. I suggest while we still have some conscious thought we take care of it now and then we can get back to killing the others. Taking its advice I jumped towards the ant as it bled and ripped out the spike and stabbed it again and again, making the blood flow even more. Then I dunked my hands in the blood and brought it to my mouth and let it flow down my throat as a taste of pure sweetness overtook my senses. I almost couldn't concentrate because of how amazing it tasted, but I knew I had to have more of it as I clenched my fists and used my buffs to make time slow down. I jumped from ant to ant, ripping open their shells, causing torrents of blood to flow over me as I drank it in. By the time I came to my senses I had just finished ripping the head of the last relay ant and gulping down the last of its blood. As the world came back into focus I saw multiple notifications and also the shocked faces of my friends. User has absorbed the life force of cavernous warrior ant, gained +5 STR, con. User has absorbed the life force of cavernous warrior ant, gained +5 STR, bit. User has absorbed the life force of cavernous relay ant, gained +10 int, +50 mana. User has absorbed the life force of cavernous relay ant, gained +10 int, +50 mana. User has assimilated DNA of 2 new species now generating possible skills. Vexus. Analyze, 8. 9, Heat resistance, 30. 35%, Lightning muscles, 6. 7, Quick step, 8. 9, Spatial bullet. Level up. LVL2, 0/30, Mental fortress, 10. 15%, Space mines, LVL 00/10. Spatial pockets of magic that when touched will implode and suck in whatever is around it in a few meter radius. Regan, 2. 3, Lightning slashes, level up. LVL 1, 3/20. Sundar. Earth creation, level up. LVL 10/20. This is retcon from last chapter. One forgot to add this because he created the bolts. Earth spikes, LVL 00/10. User creates spikes from the surrounding earth that can be used as a close-range weapon or shot as a projectile.